May kaibigan ako, tawagin natin siyang Mara, na naging bahagi ng buhay ko for almost a decade. Hindi kami yung type na araw-araw nag-uusap pero palagi kaming may open line. Kapag may nangyaring biglaan, siya yung unang naiisip ko. Kapag may good news, siya rin yung gusto kong sabihan. In short, I considered her safe. Mara is the kind of person na hindi maingay sa presence. Hindi siya yung friend na laging nasa gitna ng usapan. She listens. She notices small things. She remembers. Kapag may sinabi ka, she'll carry it quietly and check on you later. That kind of person. Sa labas, mukhang stable kami pareho. May trabaho ako, may routine, may goals. Siya rin, may sariling schedule, may responsibilities. Pero behind the stable surface, may pattern pala ako na hindi ko napapansin. Ang akala ko, concern. Ang totoo, control. Hindi ko nakita agad. I thought I was the reliable friend. Yung consistent. Yung may standards. Yung hindi takot magsabi ng totoo. Yung marunong mag-remind ng best version of you. I told myself I was doing what a good friend does. Ang problema, hindi ko napansin na sa support ko, may kasamang expectation. May checklist, may scorecard, may invisible contract na ako lang gumawa. And eventually Mara left. Quietly, no dramatic fight, no public post, just distance. And she told me, in the cleanest words possible, that I was part of the reason. Matagal ko na gustong isulat to, pero delayed kasi ayokong magmukhang nagdadrama. Ayokong magmukhang poor me. This is not that. This is me admitting, I was harming someone while believing I was helping. Nung una, kung tatanungin mo ako, anong role ko sa friend group, sasabihin ko ako yung friend na prangka. Yung hindi nagbubulag-bulagan. Yung magsasabi ng, stop, that's a bad idea. Sa isip ko, being supportive means being corrective. Like, if I see you walking towards a wall, I should pull you back. That's love, right? So I acted like a person with authority, not explicit authority, but I behaved like I had it. I always had a better plan. I always had a more reasonable take. I always had questions lined up. Kumain ka na ba? Natulog ka na ba? Nag-ipon ka ba? Nag-message ka ba? Bakit ganyan? Anong next step? And when I didn't like the answers, I would push. I would repeat myself. I would frame my pushing as care. At sa amin ni Mara, ako yung mas verbal. Siya yung mas quiet, mas reflective. Ako yung practical. Siya yung soft. For a long time, I believed her softness needed protection. And I believed I was the protector. I didn't call it that, of course. I called it being there. Pero ngayon, kapag binalikan ko, ang mas honest na line is this. I wanted her to stay close to the version of her that was comfortable for me. Yung version na humihingi ng input ko, yung version na kailangan ako, yung version na hindi masyadong lumalayo. Dumating yung panahon na nagbago si Mara. Not in a she became a different person way. More like she grew. Nagkaroon siya ng bagong interests, new routines, new friends. She started doing things without consulting me first. Hindi na ako yung default person for every decision. At dito ko unang naramdaman yung ayokong aminin. Jealousy. Hindi yung selos na theatrical, hindi yung you belong to me. It was the kind of jealousy na nagtatago sa ilalim ng concern. I sounded calm. I sounded reasonable. I sounded protective. Baka ginagamit ka lang nila. Baka hindi ka safe dyan. Baka napapabayaan mo sarili mo. Baka impulsive yan. If you read those lines without context, they sound like a friend watching out for you. But if you look at the pattern, you'll notice something else. I was trying to reduce her world back to a size I can manage. Sa puso ko, may tanong na hindi ko sinasabi. Bakit hindi mo ako sinama? Bakit hindi mo sinabi? Bakit ngayon ko lang nalaman? And the worst question, the one I hated the most, bakit kaya mo nang hindi ako? Instead of owning that insecurity, I converted it into advice. I wrapped it in common sense. I made it look like caution. I made it look like maturity. But the emotional core was not wisdom. It was fear of being unnecessary. May mga bagay na noon parang normal lang, pero ngayon, pag binalikan ko, doon ko nakikita yung damage, hindi biglang isang malaking kasalanan. It was repeated small moments that created a bigger atmosphere. A climate, a feeling that she had to perform, being okay around me. Naalala ko yung time na nagkwento siya tungkol sa isang taong nakikilala niya. She wasn't asking for permission. She was sharing. because she was excited, at least in her quiet way. My first response was not, I'm happy for you. My first response was interrogation. Anong trabaho? Saan mo nakilala? Gaano katagal? Anong background? May red flags ba? Anong plan mo? Valid questions, yes, but I asked them like I was doing due diligence, parang HR interview, parang may approval process. Tapos may isang detail na hindi ko gusto, nothing illegal, nothing extreme, pero enough for me to feel uneasy, so I said, I don't think that's a good idea. I said it as a conclusion, not as an observation. I didn't ask what she liked about the person, I didn't ask what she felt, I didn't ask if she was safe. I just decided, if someone did that to me, I would feel judged. I would feel small. I would feel like I'm not trusted. But when I did it, I called it care. May time din na sinabi niya na pagod siya. Not just busy, more like exhausted in a deeper way. She said she feels burnt out, like she was moving through her days on autopilot. Ang sagot ko, everyone is tired. You just need structure. Then I offered a schedule template, I sent reminders, I suggested habits, I offered productivity tools, I tried to solve it. I did not ask, what is making you feel that way? I did not say, that sounds heavy. I did not acknowledge, you might be carrying more than people see. I treated her fatigue like a time management issue. I turned her emotional reality into a task list. Again, I called it support. Then, there were boundaries. This is the part I regret the most because it shows how entitled I became. Kapag hindi siya nagre-reply agad, I took it personally. I would send, "Are you okay?" Then, "Please reply." Then, "I'm worried." Then, "This is not okay." In my head, it was concern. In practice, it was pressure. I was demanding access. I was requiring her response to regulate my feelings. I wanted her to answer so I can stop feeling anxious. That's not care. That's outsourcing. At kapag sinabi niyang busy siya, I sometimes replied, busy din ako pero I make time. I said that like it was a moral standard. Like she was failing a duty. Like friendship was measured by response speed. If I'm honest, I had a belief that I never said out loud, if you care, you respond the way I do. And that belief became a tool I used to judge her. May walang nakikita na yung pagiging present ko may kondisyon. Present ako kung present ka rin sa paraan na gusto ko. If you meet my expectations, I'm warm. If you don't, I become stern. I become concerned. I become disappointed. Dito bigla, Mara did not vanish in one day. It was gradual. Una, mas konti yung replies. Then shorter. Then she started using okay and noted. Yung dating mahaba naming usapan, naging functional. Parang work email, parang transaction. Then came 1 week na wala. No reply, no acknowledgement, nothing. I checked her social media. She wasn't inactive. My likes, my posts, my small updates. She wasn't gone. She was just not available to me. A normal person might think maybe she's busy. Maybe she needs time. Maybe she's tired. I wish I reacted like that. But my reaction was panic plus indignation. I sent, "Hi, can we talk? I'm concerned." No reply. I sent another, "Please, let me know you're safe." No reply. Then the third message, ito yung pinaka kinahihiya ko. "I don't understand why you're ignoring me. If I did something, tell me." Read that line carefully. It frames her silence as wrongdoing. It positions me as the one being harmed. It implies she owes me an explanation on my timeline. At that time, I genuinely believed I was the victim. In my mind, I was being abandoned. I was being punished. I was being treated unfairly. I didn't stop to consider that my behavior might have been heavy for her for a long time. After several days, she replied, "Mahaba, maingat, hindi galit." That is what made it feel serious. When someone is angry, you can argue back. When someone is calm and clear, you have nowhere to hide. Her first line was simple, "I need space." No threats, no insults, but it felt like a door closing. Not a slammed door, more like a door gently shut, with a lock you can't reach. She said something like this, in her own words. "Hindi mo sinasadya, pero maraming beses pakiramdam ko wala akong karapatang magkamali sa harap mo. Kapag may desisyon ako, parang kailangan ko muna ipasa sa'yo para valid. Kapag masaya ako, may lecture. Kapag pagod ako, may plano kaagad. Kapag tahimik ako, para akong may kaso. I froze at parang may kaso because that phrase is a whole picture. It implies examination. It implies suspicion. It implies standards. It implies consequences. She also said, kapag may bagong tao sa buhay ko, pinaparamdam mo na delikado. Kapag may bagong interest ako, tinatanong mo kung practical. Kapag may bagong direction ako, parang gusto mo i-approve. I know you care pero nakakapagod na laging ipagtanggol yung sarili ko. Then the line that still lands like wait, I started avoiding you because I felt smaller after talking to you. She didn't label me, she didn't attack my character publicly, she didn't tell people, she didn't accuse me of crimes, she just described impact, and impact was enough. I read her message 3 times, then my first instinct appeared, automatic and fast, defense. Sa loob ng utak ko, parang may formal response ako. I wanted to establish that I had no malicious intent. I wanted to say, I was just trying to help. I have good intentions. I'm worried because I care. You're being too sensitive. You should have told me earlier. I typed a long draft, puro explanation, puro I didn't mean that, puro you misunderstood. I was building a case for myself. But real life is not court. And good intention is not a complete defense when someone tells you they are harmed. Bago ko isend, tumigil ako. I don't know why I stopped. Maybe because the phrase felt smaller kept repeating in my head. Maybe because it sounded like a truth you can't debate. Then a question arrived, and it wasn't gentle. Kung mahalaga siya sa akin, bakit mas priority ko ipagtanggol ang sarili ko kaysa intindihin siya? I stared at my draft and realized I was about to do the same thing again. She says she feels judged and my response is to argue that she shouldn't. That is not listening. That is control dressed as logic. So I deleted the draft. I wrote a shorter reply. I hear you, I'm sorry. I won't argue, I'll give you space. Hindi ako sure noon kung enough. But I knew one thing. I didn't want to add pressure again. If my presence already made her feel small, another paragraph from me would only prove her point. Then came silence. Weeks, no updates, no we're okay, no closure scene, just absence. And this is where the real reckoning started, because when the person is gone, you can't negotiate the story anymore. You're left with your own behavior, and you either face it or you rewrite it. At first, I tried to rewrite it. I told myself, maybe she's overwhelmed. Maybe it's not about me. Maybe she's just stressed. Maybe she's being unfair. Those thoughts are tempting because they protect your self-image. They give you an exit. They let you keep believing you were the good friend. But her message was specific. It wasn't vague. It wasn't emotional blackmail. It was clear. So I had to stop looking for loopholes. I started looking at my patterns beyond her. Kapag may nagkwento ng problem, I jump to solutions. Kapag may decision na hindi align sa values ko, I push back aggressively. Kapag may boundaries, I treat it as rejection. Kapag may change, I interpret it as threat. Kapag may silence, I escalate. I also notice something uncomfortable. I like being needed. I like being the person who helps. I like being the one with answers. It makes me feel secure. It makes me feel important. It makes me feel like I have a role that can't be replaced. If I'm honest, that helpful identity became a quiet form of entitlement. I didn't call it entitlement. I called it responsibility. But it had entitlement underneath. The belief that my input should matter more than it does. I asked myself, saan ko nakuha to? Hindi para humanap ng excuse. I'm not trying to say it's my upbringing so it's fine. I'm trying to understand the origin so I can stop repeating it. Sa pamilya namin, mataas ang value ng pagiging maayos. Yung put together, yung responsable, the kind of household where love is often expressed through correction. Kapag may mali ka, may sermon para sa ikabubuti mo. Kapag tahimik ka, may tanong agad, anong problema? Kapag hindi ka sumunod, may line na hindi ka nag-iisip. Kapag nagkamali ka, it's not just a mistake, it's a sign of irresponsibility. So I learned early, to care is to fix, to love is to manage outcomes, to protect is to control variables. That system makes sense in a household where adults think they must prevent harm at all costs. But in adulthood friendships, that approach becomes invasive. It becomes suffocating. It turns a relationship into supervision. It took time for me to accept this. I wasn't treating Mara like an equal adult. I was treating her like someone under my watch, and she felt it. There was a phase where I wanted to declare myself a bad person just to end the discomfort. Kasi kapag black and white, mabilis. Villain ka. Okay? Tapos na. But that's not accurate and it's not accountable. Mara didn't call me evil. She said my actions made her feel controlled and judged. She said she felt smaller. That's the point. So I tried to hold two truths without collapsing into self-hate. Hindi ko intention manakit. Pero nakapanakit pa rin ako. Impact matters. It doesn't erase intention, but it doesn't get cancelled by intention either. I also had to face a deeper thing, my jealousy. I used to think jealousy belongs in romance. But in friendship, jealousy can show up as moral concern. Baka ginagamit ka. Baka mali yan. Baka hindi yan practical. Sometimes those warnings can be valid. People do get taken advantage of. People do make risky choices. But in my case, I used those warnings too quickly without enough facts because I was threatened by her growth. I had to admit, I didn't just want Mara to be okay. I wanted her to be okay in a way that keeps me important. That sentence felt ugly when I first wrote it, but I can't fix what I refused to name. After the silence settled, I made some practical changes. I did not announce them. I did not post I'm healing. This is not a performance. It's a correction of behavior, and behavior is private work. I had to learn the difference between I'm worried for them and I'm anxious for me. Those two feel similar in the body, but they require different responses. Second, I practice asking before advising. When someone shares something heavy, I ask, do you want advice or do you want me to listen? That question is simple, but it forces you to accept that your default mode may not be needed. So, I started changing language. I'm curious instead of, why did you do that? What do you need instead of, here's what you should do? I might be wrong instead of, obviously. Tell me more instead of, that won't work. It sounds small, but tone is atmosphere. It changes whether a conversation feels safe or feels like a test. Fourth, I sought professional help. I spoke to a therapist, not because I want a certificate saying I'm a good person, but because I needed to understand my anxiety around abandonment and my need to control. Therapy was not cinematic. It was repetitive. It was sometimes uncomfortable in a quiet way. It made me see how often I equate control with safety and how often I equate being needed with being loved. Months passed. At some point, I felt the urge to message Mara again, not to ask for friendship back, not to force closure, not to reopen wounds, just to acknowledge. But I was cautious because even apologies can be selfish. An apology can be a hidden request. Please tell me I'm not a terrible person. An apology can be a pressure. Now you have to respond. So I set a rule. If I message her, it must contain no demands, no guilt, no subtle request for reassurance, and no attempt to rewrite her experience. I wrote something like, Hi Mara, I'm writing to acknowledge what you told me before. I accept that my behavior made you feel controlled and judged. I'm sorry for the impact. I've been working on listening boundaries and how I handle my anxiety. You don't have to respond. I won't contact you again unless you initiate. I wish you peace. I sent it. No reply. And that was fair. This is a hard thing to accept. You can do the right steps after and still not get the relationship back. Accountability is not a transaction. You don't apologize to earn access. You apologize because it's true. There's a particular kind of grief when you're the reason someone leaves because you can't locate the villain outside. You can say, people are so unfair. You can say, they changed. You can play hero. You sit with the fact that you were the unsafe atmosphere. I replayed our conversations in my head, but not to punish myself. To understand. I remembered the moments where she started to hesitate before sharing, the way she would say, it's fine, quickly. The way her replies became shorter, It wasn't because she became cold. It was because she was protecting herself from the feeling that talking to me requires defense. I also remembered how I used my help as leverage. I've always been there for you. I'm just looking out for you. You know I mean well. Those lines can be true. But when you use them in conflict, they become a quiet weapon. They imply, because I helped you, you owe me compliance. They imply, because I care, you must accept my method. That is not love. That is a contract no one signed. I keep thinking about the phrase she used, I felt smaller. It's a clean measure. It's not about whether I was right in my advice. It's about whether my presence enlarged her sense of self or reduced it. Friendship should not feel like shrinkage. I also had to accept that Mara did not disappear. She did not vanish. She left a situation that felt unsafe for her. If someone says, I need space, and you react like they committed a wrongdoing, you are confirming why they need space. That's one of the hardest lessons for me. I used to interpret boundaries as betrayal. Now I understand boundaries as information. It's not a punishment, it's not a debate. I want to be careful here. I'm not writing this to say, look at me, I'm changing. I'm writing because I suspect there are people like me who confuse intensity with care. Some people are helpful in ways that feel heavy. They don't yell, they don't insult, they don't threaten. If you recognize yourself, you don't have to label yourself as a villain. But you do have to be honest about impact. Ask yourself, when someone shares good news, do I celebrate first or do I audit it? When someone shares pain, do I listen or do I rush to fix so I don't feel helpless? When someone is silent, do I respect it or do I treat it like a violation? When someone grows, do I feel happy or do I feel replaced? These are not questions meant to shame. They're meant to clarify because clarity is the start of change. If I could go back, I would do 5 things differently in very concrete terms. First, when Mara shared happiness, I would respond with warmth first. I'm glad you shared that with me. I'm happy you're happy. Questions can come later. Joy deserves space. Second, when she shared exhaustion, I would ask what kind of support she wants, not assume she wants a plan. Sometimes the best support is to say, that sounds heavy. I'm here. Third, when I felt excluded, I would not convert it into warnings. I would process it privately. I would tell myself, people are allowed to have other people. If you feel insecure, that's yours to manage. Fourth, when my anxiety rose, I would regulate it without making it her job. I would not demand a reply to calm my nervous system. I would remind myself, you are safe even if someone is unavailable. Fifth, when she asked for space, I would respect it immediately without multiple messages. Space is space, not a negotiation. Now, where are we? I don't know. I see occasional traces of Mara online, public, neutral, nothing personal. I do not engage. I do not attempt contact. I do not ask mutual friends for updates. That would be another form of control. There is no dramatic ending, no reconciliation scene, no final conversation with perfect closure. Real life sometimes ends with quiet, and I have to accept a consequence that feels simple but heavy. She may never be part of my life again, and I am not entitled to change that. So what do I do with this? I try to become someone safer for the people still in my life. Not by being perfect, not by being silent forever, but by practicing respect. I also try not to turn this into self-pity because self-pity is another way to center myself. It makes the story about my pain, not about the harm I caused. I can feel grief without rewriting myself as the victim. And yes, there are days I miss her. I miss her calm. I miss the quiet comfort of knowing someone like her exists in my world. I miss the person I thought I was in her eyes. But missing someone does not create a right to return. If anything, missing her is a reminder of what I lost because I confused control with care. If you've read this far, I'm not asking you to validate me. I'm not asking you to tell me I'm a good person. I'm not asking you to tell me Mara was wrong. I'm asking one thing, mainly for myself. If someone you care about says your support feels like pressure, don't litigate their feelings. Don't build a case. Don't search for loopholes. Don't argue intention like it cancels impact. Just listen. Then change the behavior. Because sometimes the villain is not the person who wants to hurt you. Sometimes the villain is the person who refuses to see how they hurt you because they like the image of being the good one. I don't want to be that person again. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to come back tomorrow for more stories. Once again, I'm Lechon and I'll see you next time.